supertalk.org. And if you are streaming us live from supertalk.fm/watch, or maybe over at SuperTalk TV, or maybe through your Roku TV devices and all the other ways you can connect, you'll see I'm not alone in the studio today. I have a very beautiful young woman with me, Vivian O'Neal, and she is your 2022 Miss Hattiesburg. Hey, Vivian.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm so excited to finally have you in the studio. You have been a guest here on Good Things before, but you were wearing a different crown, and I think you called from a different state. I can't remember.
I did.
You did, if that was when you did. So your previous crown was Miss Southern Miss, but the state was Washington, D.C. Can you tell us what you were doing there?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to be a press assistant for Senator Roger Wicker from here in Mississippi. I did that for about a year, and it was just an incredible experience, and I met so many wonderful people and got to do so many cool things and fulfill a lot of dreams in D.C. for sure.
So you probably got to see some real snow while you were in Washington compared to what, we think is great here in Mississippi. And so usually on a Monday we do a Confess It, Vivian. And I thought today would be fun for us to confess who got their feelings hurt because they didn't get any good snow. Usually if snow comes through a certain area, not everybody in the state ever gets it at one time. That was a little different with the ice. I felt like we all got ice that year, but you feel like at least your neighbors, everyone gets to enjoy in the snow. No, this last, over the weekend, it was very spotty, and who got to enjoy, a Sunday afternoon or morning in the snow versus who didn't. So I want to hear your confession, 601-879-4395, where your feelings hurt like mine because we got, no snow. How was it in Hattiesburg?
We didn't have any, so it got a little chilly. We usually get a little bit of ice in the morning, just a light dusting, but that's pretty much the extent of it in South Mississippi.
All right, Rhino, you were in Clinton. Where did you get any good snow?
It looked like it might have tried to stick, but it just didn't get cold enough. So it snowed a big fat snowflakes, but nothing
We got
stuck.
the pretty flurries and all the things, but then looking at some of our neighbors in the surrounding zip codes, I was just very jealous that you actually had some snow to sort of play into. So just know that if you got your feelings hurt, you weren't alone this past week. Okay, you have a new title. You are Miss Hattiesburg 2022, or is it 22, 23?
2022.
2022. When were you crowned?
I was crowned in November, at the end of November. So I lived in Hattiesburg for years, and so I'm really excited to get to represent them at Miss Mississippi this year.
Which is in, I think I saw 22 weeks until Miss Mississippi.
Yes, it is. But who's counting?
But who's counting? I'm sure all the girls are counting. How many total, remind us, who come to compete for Miss Mississippi?
It really depends. This year, we're not even done. I think we have maybe one or two more preliminaries left before we go to orientation at the beginning of February. So we're not really sure yet. I think we're in the 30s right now, but in the past, it's been anywhere from in the 30s up into the 50s. So it really just depends.
Now, as you reign as Miss Hattiesburg, what do you get to do well, I guess it's coming now down to November, but what do you get to do during your time as Miss Hattiesburg?
Oh gosh, I have some contacts over at the Chamber of Commerce, and so they've been really gracious in allowing me to be a part of a lot of community events and local events and ribbon cuttings and things like that. And so that's one thing that was really important to me throughout this year, is just really digging my feet into the city of Hattiesburg and being very involved in partnering with the city of Hattiesburg. But aside from that, I've also gotten to continue my work with my social impact initiative, the Capable curriculum, and continue expanding on that and reaching more and more students across the state and more and more educators.
Which I think I read up to 5,000 students now have been impacted by your Capable curriculum, which I think that's one thing that, we should focus more on when it comes to Miss Mississippi. Yes, you ladies are beautiful, and there's no way I could walk in those heels and do all the things. But a big component of it for years, I think maybe it's changed names, whether it's a platform or now it has a new name.
Right, Social Impact Initiative.
Bit
of a mouthful.
A bit of a mouthful, but these young women, all of them are out in our communities, trying to do good. So tell us about your Capable curriculum.
Yeah, so Capable is a disability inclusion curriculum that's targeted toward kindergarten through third grade students. It is essentially a character education resource for teachers that seeks to educate on bridging the gap between students with disabilities and students without, and then empowering those students with disabilities to really use their voice and advocate for themselves. And so, I've gotten to work on that and expand that a little bit, and so lots of other little projects on the way, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
What inspired you to choose that as your well, I keep saying platform, but you know what it is.
Okay.
I'm not going to remember the other one. Your service project, I guess, would be another way of saying it. So what inspired you to choose to raise awareness about children with disabilities?
Yeah. Well, my younger brother has a very rare muscular disease called nemaline myopathy. It is a very rare muscular disease. It falls under the category of muscular dystrophy, if listeners are more familiar with that term. But I was big sister, and so I was kind of like a second mom to him and raising him and, watching the ways in which that he thrived, and then also the ways in which that he struggled. And coming from a family of educators, my dad is an administrator and my mom is a teacher, and just kind of watching their experience with special education students and with students in wheelchairs, and then watching Josiah in that public education system as well, really impacted what I was passionate about, and kind of pinpointed a problem that I saw in the education system and something that I really wanted to change, and hopefully Capable can continue being a solution for that problem.
I think I found here on Good Things, Vivian, many times people don't know what they don't know is helpful for those with disabilities, and oftentimes just, bringing up the little bit of awareness or sharing with how if it's done differently or approached differently means all the world to those in wheelchairs, then, people respond. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And so I think, anytime you can have a good conversation about that. I mentioned the Miss Wheelchair Mississippi usually stops by the Good Things Studio once a year. And they have always been so gracious, too, with just having the conversation of like things to sort of, think about. From your brother's perspective, at least in school, I mean, if we have educators listening, I mean, they may be out of school today because of the holiday. What's in the Capable curriculum? I mean, how would they get it in their classrooms?
So there's several different ways. I have a website. It's capablecurriculum.com all across the board. And right there from the very beginning at the homepage, you can download it and look through it. There's a teacher guide. There's a student guide. I've done all the work for you. You can download it and use a virtual version, or you can print it off and have a physical copy for all of your students. That was one thing that was really important to me, is ensuring, like I said, coming from a family of educators, I kind of understand the two things that they have the least of are time and money. And so it's a free resource. It's very easy to download. It's very flexible in terms of time. You can spend 30 minutes on it, 15 minutes on it. It's really up to you and, the kind of time that you're allotted for character education. But it's a story, an activity, and a critical thinking section per day, and it's 5 days. And so I've had teachers do it for 15 minutes a day, but I've also had them do it over 5 weeks, and they spend 1 week on each lesson. And so it's really up into their own interpretation and the time that they have. But the easiest place for you to get it is on my website, or if you do Instagram, if you're a social media person, the link in my bio will have the option to download it from the link in my bio on my Instagram.
It feels like things are shifting, and you do see more people with disabilities on the big screen or in commercials or sort of being included in some of those conversations. How important really is that? For those of us who say, it may not be that big of a deal, but we're not the ones who are living with a disability. What does it mean to your brother to turn on TV and see somebody with a disability also acting or whatever it may be?
Right. It's so important, and that's something that I really wanted to focus on last year as I was continuing to implement these resources. It's like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, and until you start asking people and including them into the conversation and inviting them to the table and taking those things into consideration, a lot of times people don't realize that a restaurant isn't fully wheelchair accessible, or there's a business where there's no way for somebody to get into the building who is in a wheelchair. And that's happened to me. That's happened to not me personally, but that's happened to my family, where we've been out in public and we've struggled with that. And I think a lot of times people just don't notice because they don't think about it. But when you see it, or when you have a personal connection with somebody that deals with that it really shifts your perspective. And so I think it's important that all groups of people in all walks of life are able to see themselves represented within the media. I think that's important for us as a country. And so, that's one thing. This other project that, we may talk about in a little bit is my children's book that I just came out with. And so the most important thing for me in creating that was that children have the opportunity to see themselves represented in their own media, because we see that a lot in an adult age demographic, and in commercials and on TV shows, and but not so much in the children's arena. So I think that's really important that we're pushing that message to our children too.
And we will dive into her children's book and more with your Miss Hattiesburg 2022, Miss Vivian O'Neal, coming up next here on Good Things. Or you can watch Good Things on your computer or your mobile device. You can watch it on Roku, Amazon Fire TV devices, even YouTube. But now you can watch SuperTalk TV live on C Spire TV. TV. So if you have C Spire TV, you can find SuperTalk TV on Channel 70 right next to the Weather Channel. Well, it will tell you it's still cold outside. Even if you didn't get any in snow, it feels like winter is finally here. And joining me in the studio is Miss Vivian O'Neal. She is Miss Hattiesburg 2022 with 22 weeks until Miss Mississippi. Getting excited about that. But before we get off, you had led us into the fact that you wrote a children's book. Mm-hmm. And so was this just an extension of your capable curriculum, or was it something that you decided or had always wanted to sort of go in a different direction? I mean, you're already in the schools with your curriculum, right, so it makes sense with the book. But where did it come from? Or how did you inspire to do it?
Yeah, well, originally I was kind of turned off by the idea. It was kind of intimidating. I've never considered myself to, writing for children specifically to be my strong suit. And then I came out with the curriculum, and there was such an incredibly positive response from educators and from students. And so many teachers told me stories about how the students were implementing those lessons into their everyday lives and the way that they interact with other students that are different than them. And so that, kind of made me get over myself a little bit, and I was like, look, I'm gonna take on this challenge and see what we can do with it. And so it is to be served as a companion children's book series to the curriculum. And so within the curriculum, there are 4 different characters, all with different types of disabilities and backgrounds and ethnicities. And diversity was really important to me whenever I was curating their stories and curating their characters and their personality traits. And so the goal is to have 1 children's book per character. And so we've got the first character out, and obviously I'm a little biased, and so I chose Josiah to be the first one, as inspired by my younger brother, who I mentioned earlier. So
Josiah's 17 now.
He is.
So what does he feel about seeing himself in a children's book? I mean, it's different than if he was still 9, 10, or whatever it may be.
Right.
But how does he feel about being your inspiration for the children's book?
He likes the credit. He likes taking the credit. This past year, when I competed at Miss Mississippi in last year as Miss USM, I was honored to be given the Quality of Life Award, which is an award that's specifically for your social impact initiative. And so there's 7 finalists, and then you go through a separate interview process, and they give out that award. And so that was a huge goal of mine, and I was really honored to be given that. But whenever I did, he made sure that he gave me a call, sent me a text afterwards, and said, "You're welcome. I won the Quality of Life Award, even though you were the one on stage." And so we have a very playful and relationship, and so he likes to take the credit for it.
That's sure. Okay. That's the way younger siblings are anyway.
Well, he can take the credit for it. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, for sure. But if you, he's not wearing the crown though. I don't see him out enjoying.
Oh gosh, no.
Enjoying the fruits of that labor. Okay, where can we get? What's the name of the book?
Josiah's Big Day. And so you can get it. I'm not a techie person, and I finally figured out how to get it on my website. So the website that I mentioned earlier, capablecurriculum.com, there's a shop tab, and you can just buy it right off the website, and I'll ship it to you and get it to you as soon as I can. And then the same thing, you can click the link in my bio on my Instagram, and it'll have a link for you to go to purchase it.
You also mentioned that you had a local illustrator, too, to sort of join in. So it's a complete Mississippi-inspired book. It's a Mississippi, you're written by a Mississippi author. It's illustrated by a Mississippi illustrator. Was that important for you?
Absolutely. And even in the creation of the curriculum, too, I worked very closely with Mississippi educators in writing that. There were some art students at Oak Grove High School that did the artwork for the curriculum specifically. I wanted the book to be a little bit different, so I did reach out to a local artist, Heath Klinke, so I'll give a little shout out to him. He owns the shop downtown in Hattiesburg, so check that out for sure. He's incredibly talented and really brought it to life.
What's the age range for kiddos for this book? Is it just kindergarten,
right?
Elementary?
Mostly elementary age students. The curriculum is K through 3, and so the book kind of targets that age group as well. But I've had older kids that have 4th and 5th graders read it too.
So when you, I would assume that writing a children's book is so different than anything else. So how did you come up with the story, Vivian? I mean, did you sit down with your brother and sort of think through a day, or what inspired you with the story?
Personal experience, honestly, or not my personal experience, but the personal experience of Josiah. So essentially just a quick little synopsis of the book is it's about field day, and these 4 friends, Josiah being the main character, is so excited about it, and they look at the list of activities to sign up for, and they realize that none of it is wheelchair accessible and that he's not going to be able to participate, and he's really disappointed. And so he and his friends all get together and decide to go talk to their PE coach, which is the person that is in charge of field day, and ask for more inclusive activities. And they present present a list themselves. They're very diplomatic about it, and present a list themselves, and she takes that into consideration, and is like, I never tried to be discriminatory. I wasn't thinking about it. And so thank you for bringing this issue to me, and for standing up for yourselves. And so then in the end, they have the inclusive activities, and Josiah is able to participate, and he wins an award for a relay race. And so it was, while that specific scenario didn't necessarily happen, there have been so many times where Josiah has been on the sidelines at PE or, during recess, and there's really nothing that he can do. And children have a really short attention span. And so when they're running around and playing, they're not necessarily thinking about including the kid in the wheelchair that can't go play on the monkey bars like they can. And so, that has happened a lot. And so those experiences that I kind of saw him go through is what inspired the book.
Well, it sounds like where can we get it? You mentioned your website. Is it also Amazon or any of those type of places?
We're working on Amazon, so hopefully pretty soon. Hopefully pretty soon it'll be on Amazon. But right now, my website is going to be the best place. Unless you know me personally, just shoot me a text message.
Or is it anywhere in Hattiesburg to pop in and snag it?
Actually, it is. So T-Bones in downtown Hattiesburg. It's a coffee shop, record store, bookstore. My favorite coffee shop, and so we were able to partner with them and get them to sell it for us. So that's when you
really think about youth in wheelchairs, you may not think that they can be as active. But, man, if you remember back here on Good Things, we had the Mississippi Youth, Wildcats, Wildcats, Mississippi Wildcats. And they are the only wheelchair basketball team in the state of Mississippi, and they compete in the National Wheelchair Basketball League. They are athletes. Like, they are absolute studs. And so when given the opportunity to, try to figure it out, or be involved in the same things that we do. It may look a little different,
right?
But man, it takes different, strengths and abilities. I remember one of them, Vivian, talking about how some of their friends got in a wheelchair and thought they were going to play basketball against them, and they just couldn't do it. It takes a completely different sort of skill and all the things like that. But it was very humbling, too, for their friends to recognize, dude, these are athletes, and they're, they are completely perfected their skill of playing their sport the way that, they can play it.
Right. And it's important for them to recognize that, too. And, healthy looks different on everybody, and athleticism looks different on everybody. And so they're just using their body to its fullest capacity, and the way in which it works may look a little different. It may be a little different, but they're using their body to the best of their capacity, just as anybody else would be. That is, playing baseball, or a dancer or a cheerleader, or whatever that looks like. And so it's just different, but we're all human, and we're all just doing our best.
Yeah, we're doing our best, and I think parents do their best too. And again, when you don't know what you don't know, and I had one parent tell me one of the best ways that you can sort of encourage your children with inclusive or diversity is have diverse children books, right? I mean, we kind of go straight to our, just the ones that we always do. We're sort of passed down, and even if you don't have a youth in a wheelchair in your home or know somebody, just having those that just sort of feel natural. They just come into your children's book there at home, or just have the different kinds. Anyway, that's an easy way just to spark up a conversation, introduce your kids. It doesn't have to be this whole sit down, go through. Just, have the story will sort of help and sort of tell itself. I always like, oh, that was one thing. I was like, I can do that. I can have diverse books within my children's library at home. And so we'll have to make sure that we add yours to our list for sure. And I feel like folks should also add them to their libraries, whether it's at their Sunday schools or whether it's in their different places at school. You should have that diverse,
right?
Even if you're not, even if there's not a child in the area, then that's in a wheelchair. Right. All right. This Miss Mississippi, we mentioned 22 weeks away. What are you doing to get prepared, or how do you prepare this far out, or are you preparing this far out?
Yeah, look, I always say it's a 24-hour day, 7 day a week, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job in terms of prep. So it's been all year round. I've been preparing since I walked off the stage last year, to be honest. So, just the regular things, staying in shape, keeping myself dancing. I dance for my talent. I'm continuing my education. I'm starting grad school actually in a couple days. So hopefully that plays a part in interview skills and my ability to talk about my passions. And Miss America at the end of the day is a scholarship organization, and that's the only reason I'm able to go back to grad school right now. So I'm very thankful for that. So just, all the regular things, just, keeping myself sharp and ready to go.
Alrighty, well, we're not ready to let you go. We got a little bit more with Vivian O'Neal coming up next here on Good Things. We're learning more about Miss Hattiesburg 2022, Miss Vivian O'Neal, but she was also your first runner-up for Miss Mississippi, I think last year. Yes. What an exciting sort of time for you. Okay, so I think this is one thing people don't understand about all of these young girls who go through it once and then come back out and go, you know what, I'm coming back for another try. Because now there is only so many years that a young girl can compete for Miss Mississippi, and what's the age?
They just changed it. So I want to say, and I don't want to be incorrect here, but I think they just changed it from 19 to 26. I think it used to be 18 to 25 or 18 to 24, something like that. But they just changed it and gave them one additional year. So
you've had the pleasure of, this will be your fourth Miss Mississippi.
Yes.
When was your first?
In 2017. It was the 60th anniversary.
And now you're coming back for it's Miss America's 100th. I was going to say, I was like, hold on, I'm doing the math, but I'm thinking you have aged out, girlfriend. in that respect. Okay, what does keep you coming back for it? What is it about the organization or just the whole process? Because for someone who's never done pageants, I think I did one in my high school because that's what you would Beauty and Bow or whatever. Uh-huh. It was nerve-wracking to the point of making you want to vomit on stage. So obviously that's not, wasn't for necessarily clicked for me. And I think for us who don't get it, we feel like it would be so stressful and nerve-wracking. Why would you keep doing it? Mm-hmm. But why do you keep doing it?
This is a very multifaceted answer. One of the biggest things, the scholarship dollars. I've earned over, probably well over $10,000 in scholarships over my years competing, and that's been such a blessing in my life. I have 3 siblings, and one graduated, and then I graduated, and I'm in grad school now, and then I have another sister that just started college, and so it gets expensive and it adds up, and so that was such a blessing to have the opportunity to earn scholarships that way, but also the service aspect. I think. I was very shy and very quiet as a child, and I consider myself to be pretty outgoing now. Vivian means lively, and I think I live up to that name. But I credit that mostly to the Miss America organization, and it's been a transformation that my parents and all the people around me too can attest to. It's completely changed my life. I think it's the only reason that I got that job in Washington D.C. I think it's the reason that I majored in public relations, and that my love for people and communication and having these face-to-face interactions and personal connections and hands-on experiences is so important to me. Is because Miss America gave me an outlet in which to step out of that comfort zone and really provided me with mentors and leaders and role models in order to shape me into that person to accomplish those things. And so that's what keeps me coming back, and it's just exciting to see look how much I grew in this 6-month period or this year-long period or 3-long period or whatever it is. And so it's exciting. I wonder where I'll be a year from now. I wonder where I'll be in June, and kind of where that's going to take me and where those opportunities are going to take me. So those are definitely lots of things, but those would be my top 2 that I keep coming back to.
And everyone we have here on Good Things that wears a crown that ends up going to vie for Miss Mississippi, or when we have the good pleasure or good fortune of having Miss Mississippi herself in the studio, they all say the same thing. Mm-hmm. They all say that it helped them either come out of their comfort zone or, it gave them so many life skills that just, are beyond it. And then there is a sisterhood to it that I think that a lot of the contestants, you're all over the state, and then you come for that, and it has to be more like a boot camp. How long were y'all? How long are y'all in Vicksburg for the actual pageant? Like, when will you go? Is it a week or is it 2 weeks? How long are you there?
It's a week long. So typically we have events starting on the Saturday, a week before the Saturday of crowning. So I think this year maybe that's the 18th through the 25th, and so we're there on that day. Some girls get there a couple days early just to settle in a little bit, but and it is packed full from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed, which is pretty early and pretty late. So it's a packed schedule, but that really does pull you together and make you closer. And when they say that it is a sisterhood, it absolutely is. It is honestly, it's like another sorority. I've found some of my best friends through that program, and we keep up with one another even when they're done competing or as we continue competing. And nothing really brings you together like somebody who will fix your hair pick something out of your teeth before you go on stage, because I've definitely had that happen.
That's definitely the side of a true friend.
Yeah.
So for families listening to Good Things, Vivian, I mean, we just hear headlines or see things change in terms of the Miss America organization sort of making some shifts and changes. What would you say to someone who still has a young daughter or a young girl in their family that wants to do pageants or would do pageants? Would it still be something you would encourage?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Miss America's purpose in making these changes was to pave the way for the next 100 years for the modern woman. And so it's important that, just with anything else, with any other organization, with any other business, you have to evolve and change with the times. And that's exactly what the Miss America organization is doing. And I think they're setting a really positive precedent for programs that may come up in the future, just kind of as they're going towards the next 100 years of Miss America. And I think it's really important, and it's all about scholarship and service and empowering young women and giving young women the tools that they need to be successful and to make an impact in this world.
First pageant, when was that for you, Vivian?
7th grade. I did just a pageant at school, and that kind of happened accidentally, and I was a hot mess. I borrowed my dress, didn't have anybody to do my hair and makeup until the last minute, but Miss Mississippi is an icon all across the state, and so, as a little girl, that was a goal of mine and a dream of mine, but I never actually thought I would be able to do it. And so gosh, if I think about telling a little 7th grader that she would be on the Miss Mississippi stage one day, I probably wouldn't believe her.
Would you ever believe that you would have been runner-up?
Oh gosh, no. I never even made the top 15 before, and I competed 2 years prior, and last year was my 3rd year, and I'd never really won any extra awards or preliminary awards or been in the top 10, top 15, anything like that. And then all of a sudden I was first alternate, and I think it just goes to show you, if you work really hard, that it is, even if maybe logistics are against you or circumstances are against you, if you work really hard and it's meant to be, and you really focus on being the best version of yourself that you can be, that things like that can happen.
You have to find a way to set goals or get excited about small things, because I think there was a statistic that was you have a better chance of your son being or playing in the NFL or whatever
in the Super Bowl
than your daughter, being crowned either whatever the state title is or even, Miss America, because there's only one crown. I mean, which is fine. So do you have to have that conversation with yourself, Vivian, of, knowing that you go and put your best foot forward and finding pride in maybe walking away if you don't have the crown? I mean, I think first alternate would be the worst, personally. I mean, second, top 10, but
so close.
You were so close. And then I know you don't, but it's if she gets sick. No, I'm kidding. No. Or abducted by aliens. No, we would never wish that on Miss Mississippi. But I mean, no, I'm kidding. But I mean, was there this moment of just really first alternate?
Honestly, that entire week, I was more relaxed than I'd ever been in my entire life. It felt like an out-of-body experience. I was just in the Twilight Zone or something, because I was so calm. And everybody asked me what that moment was like when they're taking forever to announce who's first alternate and who's the winner. And as I'm standing there, holding Holly's hands, and I wasn't nervous. It was so strange, and you would think that would be the most nerve-wracking moment, but it really wasn't. And you do kind of think about, I'm so close, but I'm a Christian. That's a really big part of my life is my faith, and so I just have to believe that there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. There's a reason that it happened, and I'm so proud of Holly, and I'm so excited for her. And that's the really special thing about this organization is these girls really do cheer one another on. Whoever it is, they're gonna get behind the girl that they're sending to Miss America and who's representing them. And I think that's really important. And so I was given this opportunity to go back and compete, and so we'll see what happens, and I'm excited for that opportunity. So everything happens for a reason.
22 weeks will fly by.
Yeah, it will.
Before you know it, Miss Vivian. Well, and until then, you are still Miss Hattiesburg, and get to enjoy that and start back school. What's your grad school in? What are you going back to grad school for?
Higher education and student affairs.
Higher education and student affairs. And if anyone wants to get your book or maybe your capable curriculum where they can put it in their classrooms for inclusion and diversity, where do we find that?
capablecurriculum.com. You can purchase the book. You can download the curriculum. There's virtual resources, all my contact information. You can purchase the book at T-Bones. You can find it at the University Library on Southern Miss's Hattiesburg campus. It's kind of sprinkled throughout different school libraries and elementary schools across the state. But capablecurriculum.com is the best place.
Well, we look forward to having you back here on Good Things. I think even if you don't walk away with the crown, Miss Vivian, you'll be up to some good no matter what you choose to do. So I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty, you guys stick with us. We got a few more good things for you coming up next.